so good to be here and see all the beautiful faces. And this topic is how to avoid the happiness thieves. And I'm pretty sure we know of a number of them, but I'll just review a little bit. As Yogananda taught, one of the primary, perhaps one of the primary sources that depletes our happiness is critical thinking, called like thinking mind. And not that I ever have done that, but and it's a practice, it's a process, because learning to behave, also learning how to not be so harsh on ourselves or harsh on others. That we are all, we're all children in a sense. We are all the divine. And one thing that Swami Kriyananda noticed, always was struck by and mentioned when he was a direct disciple of Yogananda, had the honor of meeting a number of times on a number of occasions, spending a little time with on occasions, was that he was very respectful of Yogananda. He wouldn't necessarily enable negativity. He could be very outspoken if this was not right. But he was also respectful of the soul of the individual, wherever they were. And he had tremendous humility. And really, this is so important. And the other is, rather than focusing so much on what to avoid, I feel inspired to share what are the things to counter that. So it's being, of course, it's being loving. There were cornerstones in Yogananda's teachings. Like, you could boil it down. Love, you say love God, and you could say, my goodness, how do I do that? Something I can't touch or see, how do I love something? Well, it's with prayer, it's with meditation, it's with devotion, it's with opening. Perhaps it's seeing that God is in everything, and seeing beyond, going deeper within, and reaching out. And then he'd say practice your Kriya, but it could also be practice your meditation techniques if you're not a Kriyavan. But it's having a practice. It's being able, the meditation calms the nervous system. The yoga postures help because we have incarnated in these bodies, whether I like it or not, so we're bumping up against each other all the time. I mean, so, some of us may live in the forest and aren't affected by the body's negative stuff, but many of us have the 405 to attend with and things like that. So there's other things going on. So the postures and all awakens the energy and takes us spiritually focused into the chakras, to where it's like the inner laboratories of our being, where all that stuff, those things like, oh, she's not nice to me, she doesn't take me out to a movie like we used to do, or he is that, or they don't behave, or he doesn't take out the trash regularly like he says he will, or different things, or this person is just this and that, he, she, it, you name it, whatever. But there's always something outside. And really, yogas are not sharing so beautifully. It's our inner journey. I mean, the rubber hits the road. It's our own prana. It's what we're feeling vibrating in the chakras, and how, whether the vibration is taking us away, taking us further down into the mud, or lifting our energy upwards into the light at the spiritual eye and towards the crown chakra. And that is, but there's an upward pole of that, and simply. Okay, so Yogananda said to practice some technique, because the meditation, the yoga techniques, these great beings come. They're already free. They're in that love. They know that people that have had out-of-death experiences and come back, they know we're beings of light and love, that's really what we are. We just happen to be, we're bumping around on the 405 here still and doing stuff, and we're interacting, but in truth and working out stuff. But we're really, in essence, just beings of love and joy. So they come knowing that, they're in that, and here's these techniques. Here's these simple but powerful techniques. And all we got to do is do them. Practice them to the best of our ability. Not perfectly, but just keep practicing. And then there's the support, the satsang, sangha. That helps, because that's why this is so precious. This is something like this, so sacred. Like a little temple in a strip mall, because there's so much other stuff saying, no, you're separate, you're different, you're not me, I'm not you, give me your money, whatever. And so it's And so we have this where there's no strings attached. We're just here to be in love, to be happy, and to support each other to do that. And then we have the other things. We said to practice your kriya or practice your meditation. And then he said, and lastly, this is the clincher, and give that, feel the love of God flowing through you. Because when we tap in, this is why they all fit in beautifully. Because the meditation takes us back into our astral source, into the main astral tube, which is the sushumna, through the chakras, these astral dynamos, where all our karma is vibrating and our energy takes us back into the source, to that divine joy of which we're the children of the light. We all already are, have just lost the way. And so that just takes us, each time we do that, we go back into the source. We're not adding anything. We're clearing out the debris. We're getting back into the source inside of who we actually are. And then he says, feel that love of God flowing through you. And then give that love, not just to them, give that love to all. And then there's a very well-known monk, and but he said, it's actually brother in Ananda, and he had said, I remember hearing him say, and that is something that's very, very hard to do at times. But it's okay. We just keep practicing. And he even said, and I failed many times, and I'm working on it. But it's a process. And yoga is an experiential journey. It's a practice. And then the senses, I could not, leave this without mentioning the senses, the sheer weight of the senses. Because we have these bodies, we come out in the senses, we come out of the womb, and rather that it's not becoming, as Yogananda would say, a slavery of the senses. But that doesn't mean one has to become so cold and cut off that we don't feel anything, because we're still in these bodies, we're still in this incarnation here. So it's just doing it, as Swami Kriyananda would say, if you enjoy the ice cream, enjoy it, but enjoy it with God. Like, this comes from God, enjoy it with God. If you hear a song you love, enjoy it with God, and look for the uplifting people, the people that are actually living in the joy. That, we have, Swamiji would say, we have don't live based on where you were in the past. You don't live based on where we are right now, which is just the immediate. Try to live where you aspire to be, where you're moving towards, above the horizon of where we are. How do we get there? It's in the meditation. It's in, those of us who are devotees, attunement. You don't have to be a devotee, but you can still attune to great beings, great light, and they guide us. That's why they're here. That's why they come, the real ones. And give that love, share that love, because the love then frees us of that separateness and that smallness. And I'll be honest, every day it's a choice for me. I see things come up all the time. I live in the big city. I come from LA. I live in Koreatown right now. And every day there's a choice. There's always something. And where I feel like Maya, which is like cosmic illusion, says, gotcha. and then I'm like, okay. And then sometimes I get caught, and then I go, okay, now I know what you are. Okay, I'm on to you now. And then I just know that I'm going to give myself more time when I'm driving and not take it so personally. And when things don't always go well on the road, when I get cut off or something. So it's starting, but beyond that, it's not trying to understand. Yogananda said, don't try to understand this world. You'll go crazy. You'll go insane trying to understand this world, the Maya. Don't try to he says, love, practice compassion first. Then you will, and go into the source within of your divine. That's probably just about almost the whole message of the Christ, is love all. Like, love your enemies, love all. And because the other one is you, or reflection too. And we had that thing, I remember The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, but when Luke Skywalker, he sees a hologram of Darth Vader, and he slices the head off, and Yoda's with him. He's like his guru. And ever thought like Yoda, like yoga, but with a D? And then he says, and he slices off the head of Darth Vader, and then he realizes, he looks down, and it's Luke's own head that's cut off. Mm. Because it's and his guru Yoda is like playing a little, doing a Zen master thing with him, because he's showing him that you're really cutting your own head off in trying to cut off the head of the demon. And we are part, this is all part of that, the web of which we're all. So the way is through love. And that doesn't mean being a wimpy. It doesn't mean enabling bad behavior. It doesn't mean not speaking up at times. It doesn't mean agreeing with everybody. It means being loving. Cultivating, Yogananda Ji would say, cultivate love first. Speak, this is so hard for me, but fight not even for truth if love is not first in your heart. And be aware of those who don't do that, or just being aware. If there's real toxicity and negativity, why in the world would want to be around that more, if there is that? So it takes viveka, discernment,